welcome to Get Your Bell Rung, a pro wrestling podcast. Tonight, I have two guys that I know they're good friends of mine that I love to death, and it's an honor to be able to have them on. Both of them are in professional wrestling. First, let me bring up Big Joe Helms. He is the AHCE Heavyweight Champion, and as recent, he's been awarded the Arcadia Pod Award for Wrestler of the Year. And the next gentleman that I'm bringing up is someone who had a huge role in Big Joe Helms, the Silverback, in his career because he was his trainer. I'm talking about WWF veteran Terry Zeller. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah, good. You know, normally, I'm just talking about this. Normally, I take a couple of days to do a lot of research and come up with questions for my guests, and I just didn't do it, guys. This is going to be a truly an organic conversation that we're going to be having between the three of us. We've spent a lot of time together before. Joe's been on the show multiple times. Terry's been on. Matter of fact, you both are in my intro, so that's how much you guys mean to me. Terry, I have to ask you, man, how proud of you are you of seeing a guy that came to you, that you took under your wing, that you trained, now heavyweight champion, just as I said, recently voted Wrestler of the Year?
That's good stuff. He's been a champion in a couple other places, though, so this isn't his first championship. 3 belts, Joe?
Yes, sir.
3 belts.
Yes, sir.
So him and there's one other kid that I helped start training, and he is a tag team champion now over for NWA for the Harley Race promotion up there in northern Missouri.
Nice. Joe, it's been a while since you've been on. Talk to me about your match for the heavyweight champion. Talk to me how you prepare for it. Talk to me about who you faced.
Okay. Well, it was Austin Everest was his name. I actually faced him again this past weekend. Man, it was kind of hard to prepare because, like less than 2 days before that match, I had that massive rollover head-on collision accident. I feel for the family that hit me because they had to be cut out the car. But it's just like I say, Jesse the Body Ventura, I ain't got time to bleed, man. I ain't got time to slow down. I was fine. Yeah, my chest hurt, but I still got to wrestle and take care of my family. And Terry ain't raised no punk, and so I owed it. I felt to myself, to him, to the character, the Silverback, and to my fans to keep pushing forward and fight through it. And I give the glory to God because, it was painful to still do what I did for that match.
Right. Yeah, I saw pictures of it now. I showed it to my wife, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, is he okay?" You're lucky you walked away from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And still lingering, just in the chest a little bit. And so every time I have a match, depending on who I'm facing, like it feels like I'm in the accident all over again. So like the gym was rough today, and I had the match Saturday.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Now, are you now wrestling exclusively for AHCA? Because I know for a while you traveled and you were going to different indie promotions.
No, AHCW. I'm being more loyal to them because I am their champion, so I kind of have to be at these shows.
Right.
But no, I'm still wrestling for New Breed and Mid States and just all over the place. I was in Memphis Sunday. Spent some time in Memphis, and we went to Graceland, and I ended up. I don't know if it's part of my journey or destiny, but I end up running to a guy named I can't think of his last name, Matt Elvis. I can't remember his last name. Dadgummit, but he owns King of Memphis Wrestling, and he ran into me, and he had the little guy that plays the Mini Taker with him.
Oh, nice.
And and they hit me up and they asked me if I was a wrestler, and I was like, yeah, because they kind of followed me through Graceland and then over to the other park to look at the cars and vehicles and other stuff. And he wanted me to get a hold of him, and he wants me to work for him. He was gonna, when he left there, he was on his way over to see Jerry Lawler. I guess him and him, both of them are really good friends, and so now I've got that connection just by going to Graceland, And I'm like, is that my destiny? Is it just fate? What's going on here? All these cool opportunities keep happening for me.
Right, Terry, what has been going on your way, my friend?
Just work.
Have you been doing? I know a while back you competed in a match yourself quite a few months ago. Do you see yourself getting into the ring anymore in the future?
I don't know. There's a point in time you just got to stop, but there's that pride thing.
Right.
They're like, hey, you want to be in this battle royal? And I'm like, yeah. Mouth engages before the brain does. Being it was a battle royal, it wasn't too bad. It was all right. But should I be in there? Probably not. Spend my time training. It's fine.
Right. So
I'm too old to keep doing this. I mean,
yeah.
I was fine the next day. The whole next week, it was all good. As far as body aches and pains, doing stuff like that. But should I be in there? No. I know I don't look as good as I used to look.
So 0 chances of you challenging Big Joe Helms for that title, huh?
Joe won't like that if we did that, would you, Joe?
Well, we've talked about having a supposed heel turn for me to go teacher versus student, which I think would be a blast. I think it would be great, but we've talked about that in the past, and I don't know if anybody will ever put that together, but I think it'd be fun.
I know.
I think it'd be fun.
Talk to me about the high man. So anything happening with the hired gun? Is that guy just kind of chilling right down the back?
No, actually, as a matter of fact, he just got a year's worth of bookings for Midwest Coalition up in the St. Louis, Illinois area. I went up there and worked as the hired gun for one match with a tag partner, Brent Brooks, out of Chicago. And then I came back as the Silverback and did a match a few weeks ago, and I just killed it down there with that. But I'm sitting there at the merch table, and the fans kept coming to the merch table, and they were talking to the owner, and they were like, man, we really love that hired gun gimmick. Like when him and Brent Brooks wrestled together in the tag match, because we're partners in pain. Right. And we just looked good together, and we worked good together, and we just demolished these guys. Like they said, we looked like a version of the APA, but like more intense. We used demolitions, decapitation as a finisher on some of them, and they just loved it. So they kept hitting them up, and they were like, well, what do you want to do, Joe? I was like, well, I want to make the fans happy. If there's that many of them that are willing to come and they want to see the hired gun, then let's do it. And so they just gave me a bunch of dates for the hired gun, not to mention the fact that I'm still wrestling for VPW in Florida with Gary Wolf, Pitbull #1. And then I have an opportunity to go up to New Jersey as the hired gun for Super Strong Pro Wrestling for Thomas Cairo, which just kicked off this last weekend, and they had a superb show. Right. So things are going great for both gimmicks. It's crazy that I got both that just really work for everybody.
Yeah, Larry Hang row 4795 says squash match, Terry wins.
Hey, I've done enough losses in my life, so yeah, it's about time.
Yeah, right? Yeah. He knows my weaknesses.
Yeah. Terry, have you been taking on any new people as far as training them?
No, actually, I've sort of stepped back a little bit. I still consult with Joe on some things every now and again. Couple other guys, I'm the general manager over at Mid States Wrestling. I've got a couple guys that come to me, ask some opinions, say, sit down with me for a minute. You got some time? What do you think? So I'm doing some consulting stuff, nothing in ring at the moment. Just work hours with my shoot job and stuff like that sort of put a damper on it driving all the way to Harrison is a long
Wow.
drive for me. It's an hour and a half from where I work to get down there. And by the time I've gotten there, most of the guys are done training because, they went down earlier to do that. So
Right.
sort of waiting for something or somebody to open up something a little bit closer to home here in the area that Joe and I live in and put some more hours in.
Yep. Grant. Hi, Grant. Thank you for joining us today. Joe, talk to me about you. You just participated. You're more a veteran pro wrestling. You guys just did a pretty big event a couple of months ago. And I was supposed to have you on right after that, and some life happened, unfortunately. But talk to me about that event and how well that went over. And you guys raised money for veterans, right?
Yeah, veterans and their disabilities and things like that. There's actually quite a few wrestlers that are on the show that are veterans as well. So it's super veteran based. We wrestled at the VFW up there as well. We had a ton of stars up in there. Austin Aries, I did a little spot with him. Darren McBee, who was Malibu from the American Gladiators. Man, there was just a lot. Teal Piper was there, Roddy's daughter. And of course I wrestled for the NWA television championship against Brian. Yeah. And so it was fun because the night before I was the Silverback about 2 hours up the road for Tampa Bay Pro. So I got a 2-day run out of what we saw happen at Cauliflower Alley.
Nice. Speaking of Brian Idol, any rematch happening anytime soon between you two?
I haven't heard anything. I just know that I was supposed to be back up there in January, and some things had happened, and my booking was moved to February. So I don't know. I think they might be moving towards the Silverback because they have such a huge heel faction with the Russian gangsters. They're like, you really don't have any powerful faces to go against this huge mob of people. And I'm like, yeah, I'll fit the bill. Let's do it. So.
Yep. Terry, have you and Joe ever thought about doing something together where you are traveling with him, managing him, walking him to the ring?
Not really. We talked a little bit about it at one time, but not really. With him doing the full-time wrestling job really makes it sort of hard with me with my shoot job.
Right. What's in the future for you, Joe?
As far as I can take this, man, I'm trying to get to the NWA at some point. I'd like to get up to OVW, and I know I've talked about that for a little while, but I think that's going to get a little closer and closer to me just taking off and going up there. I've had a lot of opportunities of them telling me to come up here, you'll fit in, come up here. And I even had a time where one of the guys sponsored me coming back down so one of the main trainer guys could take a look at me. And something happened with him and his family, and he had to leave early. So that kind of fell through. But at the same time, I'm always told, just pack and go. So I'm going to sit down here in the next few days and start messaging a lot more promotions to get a lot further and get out there a little more and just keep grinding and see what happens.
Yeah. How often are you working?
Well, there for a minute, I was working every weekend, and I had some opportunities come up where they wanted me on a Friday, Saturday night. And I'm like, dude, I'm already booked up. I can't help you. I'm booked up till February. And then they were like, well, what about some multiple Fridays in a row? And I said, absolutely. I don't have a problem with that. And they're like, well, we want to run a small angle with you. And I'd say, okay, I understand. But at the same time, I want you to understand that I will protect my character. Oh, yeah, we understand that. And then I never hear from them again. Right. See, that's not how it works, fellas. Right. I'm going to protect my character. You're not going to bring me in and have me put over somebody that's way lesser. Not saying I'm not saying I'm God's gift to pro wrestling, but come on, man. like I've worked way too hard for this, favors cost money, and I
Right.
put my family and my body on hold for a lot of for this. So,
Yeah.
Well, it's got to make
this
sense.
is my job. It's got to
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Right.
And then I'll have somebody come in and want me to put them over that couldn't wrestle their way out of a paper bag, let alone win a fight. And I'm like, no, walking away. Sorry.
Right. Terry, what were you saying?
It's got to make sense. I've drilled that into Joe's head as many times as I've beat the crap out of him, slapped his chest. I mean,
I have called
sense.
him
If it doesn't make sense, you don't do it.
absolutely irate. I have called him absolutely irate about a situation and happen to have him talk me through it, because I've literally been where I was about to pack my stuff up before intermission and leave the promotion.
Right.
Because of how they were trying to be, and so when they realize, oh, this guy knows how the business works, then,
Yeah, and I'm
Right.
booking for organizations I'm not even at.
Really?
Well, when I get that phone call from Joe, how do I handle this? And he takes
Yep.
it back to him. They're like, oh,
True.
well, okay, that works. Okay,
True.
let's do that.
Terry, I'm gonna put you
100%.
in the I'm gonna put you in the hot seat for a second. If you were the guy that was interviewing Joe, what would be the number one question that you would want to ask him, that you would want fans to know about Joe?
Why did you get in this business?
A 12-year-old me that loved wrestling growing up. The thing is everybody always said growing up, Joe, you need to be a wrestler. You should have been a wrestler. You should have been a wrestler. And when the opportunity came knocking, I grabbed it by the horns and I basically just dove in head first, because deep down it was there. I just never had the opportunity, and it was something that I've always wanted to do. I spent a lot of time, 15 years, playing arena football, when I wish those years I would have been able to spend in pro wrestling, but there was nothing around here for that. So,
Right.
So to follow up with it, did it meet your expectations?
100%. And I have a lot of people. It's very rewarding, like personally. And I have a lot of people ask me all the time, well, what did you like better? Joe, you've won 5 championship rings playing arena football, and all these accolades, and then you're doing all this in the pro wrestling. They'd ask me, well, what do you like better? What do you prefer? And my answer is always, there is no greater sport in the world than professional wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a fan, I obviously agree with you 100%. I've had you on the show before. I know your background, but there's a lot of people, I've gained a lot of fans since you've been on the show. And I want to go into your background, Joe. But before we do, for those who may be asking, who's this Terry Zeller guy? Why did Joe go to this Terry Zeller guy? What made him so special? Terry, let's talk about who you are, man. Let's talk, because you have a magnificent background. I mean, you're someone that was in business for a long time. You've gotten to be in the ring with a lot of stars. So let's start with you first. Talk to me or talk to the fans. Who's Terry Zeller in professional wrestling?
Terry Zeller is a guy who got his start in this business in 1984. Actually before 1984, probably in the early 80s, like 82, 83, setting up the ring, being the timekeeper at the Portland Sports Arena in Portland, Oregon for Don Owens. Did stuff like that, did security, walking the guys to the ring, starting to get to know the guys. They all trained. I worked at a health club, and all the wrestlers came to our health club to work out. Different days for heels and faces, but everybody came, and it was knowing I wanted to be a wrestler. Lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. Got tested a lot to begin with. Let's put it that way. Passed the test, apparently. Got called out, given an address, told this is where you need to be on this day at this time. Don't be late. And go out there and started training a whole lot differently than the way that Joe was trained, for sure. Different time, different place. Things were done a whole lot differently there. And I had my first match in November of 84 against Playboy Buddy Rose. Nice. One of the guys that trained me. First match. No nerves. No, it was great. It was a cakewalk and sort of took off from there. Been all over, been to Mexico, all over Arizona, all up and down California, been to Washington, been to Portland a couple times, but nothing like what Portland wrestling was back then. Been to Canada, been all over, and got seen by Billy Anderson, who's really big in the West Coast scene. Got seen by him. He was bringing some guys into Arizona, working some promotions that I was working in Arizona also, and got to know him pretty well. And he got me my first gig with WWF, and used him once as my booker. And after that, was on my own and worked from 90 to 93 for WWF for talent enhancement, besides doing my independence. But anytime they were on West Coast and needed somebody, I got a phone call and there I went.
Right. And I mean, you've been in the ring with guys like Lex Luger, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had like a small little program with them that had something to do with you saying something to him while he was looking in the mirror. Is that
yes,
right?
sir?
Yeah.
So this is how the story goes. Lex and I were scheduled for third hour. He was not a happy camper. All of his buddies and everybody that he hung with was doing first hour, second hour, and leaving. We used to do 3 hours worth of tapings on Mondays and Tuesdays. He wasn't real happy about it. Walked up to him, told him that I was his opponent for the night. What did he want to do? He's like, I'll get back to you. And I walked around and, well, his mirror was backstage. This is when he was the narcissist and was always flexing in the mirror and stuff. Well, I happened to walk by and had a really long mullet, fixed my hair. He's like, kid, come here. I got this. We never even had a match. Bell never rang. I go out to the ring. It takes Lex forever because he is taking his time because he is not going to sweat. We get out there. He does his flexing deal. He turns to the crowd. I go check my look in the mirror. Look out for the bionic elbow. Nose dive into the mat. Get kicked out of the ring. End of story.
At what point did you decide that you want to give back to the business by training younger talent?
Sort of by accident. My employers know that I used to be a wrestler. They thrive on it. They think that's the greatest thing in the world. Somebody had went to my boss and wanted to use, my boss owns the company that I work for, and he also owns a CrossFit. At the time owned a CrossFit gym and wanted to use his gym and his arena to run wrestling. So my boss, knowing that I knew something about wrestling, wanted me to meet this guy and see if he was legit or not, because there's so many people that are just sort of flighty and fly by night. And I gave him my opinion, and that guy asked me if I'd be willing to train some guys and do some stuff. And it worked for a little bit. Not going to bring up his name or anything like that, but there was some falling outs that happened with a lot of people. He took advantage of some guys. It wasn't right. He had a problem because I had Joe to a point that I couldn't go any further with Joe by myself because I had other guys that weren't to Joe's level. Joe was a very, very quick learner, and having to go back to basics and go back to basics and go back to basics every week sort of sucks. And I told Joe that he needed to go seek out Jason Jones, and Joe and I had a meeting with Jason Jones, and this other guy had a fit. Literally had a temper tantrum fit, and I almost walked away at that time. He had another guy that was a partner, convinced me to stay. So I stayed on for another 6 months or so, and then those two had a falling out. And by that time, I was just completely done with it all. It's just too much drama. I don't need a place that there's drama going on. I'm here to train people, not to indulge in your personal drama.
Right. Now I want to leave that there for a second. Joe, as you said, you're playing stadium football, and when you got into wrestling, it wasn't like you had to leave stadium, playing from stadium football because you weren't any good. I mean, you're a man that won multiple championship rings, but there came a moment in your life, you're sitting in your vehicle, taking from there.
Sitting in my vehicle, and I'd had moments before games, and I would just ask myself, why am I still doing this? Like, I can continue doing this. I'm fine, and I kept having that, why am I still doing this problem? And so I left the gym one night, and I pulled over to this little park by the house, and I just had a conversation with God and said, I just don't want to play football anymore. I said I could continue going, but I just don't want to continue doing it. I said, I'm not a normal person who are what any of us are in wrestling, but I'm not a normal person. I could go back to, my collector cars and work on them and customizing cars. But I just said, I feel like I have more to give. I have more to offer. And I said, whatever it is, God, let's give it to me. Let's go. Let's do it right now. And so I let it be. And the very next weekend was Father's Day weekend. And the old company he's talking about had a show in Republic probably about 5 or 10 miles from the house. Me and my son was going to go as a Father's Day, deal, me and my son. He ended up not wanting to go. And I was that close to not going. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to treat myself and go have a good time. So I went and showed up there, and I got eyeballed by everybody in the whole building. I sat front row, got the last seat to the front row. I'm sitting there eating my pizza, minding my own business. I look over and I see Terry giving me a stink eye. I see the security giving me stink eye, and the little guy on the other side, James, it was his name, on the other side of the railing, started laughing at me. He goes, "You look like you should be one of the guys over here on my side." And I just started laughing at him, and I was like, whatever, no big deal. And so as the show goes on, I went up at halftime and introduced myself to the guy that owned it. And I told him, "Hey, I'm Joe Helms. Nice to meet you. You're doing a great job, man. I'm enjoying myself." And I watched the rest of the show, went home. And that Sunday, I was at the gym telling the guys at the gym, how much of a good time I had, and I got a message from the owner of that company asking me if I would be a special guest in a 15-man battle royal August 28th. And see, here it was just Father's Day. So right. August 28th was just a couple months down the road. And so I was like, ever since I was like 12. So I showed up and started putting the work in as I was still playing football. I would train Saturday mornings from like 6 to 8 a.m., go home, shower, and go be up there and have Terry beat the crap out of me for about 5 hours, Saturday and Sunday. Sunday was the advanced class. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to the advanced. And they're like, why? I was like, because I kind of already know what I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm great or anything, but I kind of know what I'm doing up here, and my strength helped a lot too. And a lot of times Terry would just have to say it one time, maybe repeat it a second time, and I'd have it like that. So I hate to say anything was easy, but it came fairly easy. The psychology part,
footwork was very hard for you.
Yeah, the placement. I just had to really get my athleticism at a different level because I was still heavier. I was about 315, 320 at the time, and I was real boxy. So
football footwork is different than wrestling footwork.
Yeah, and I had to cut.
It's to hold the line. It isn't to take a bump. It isn't to do this. It isn't to do that. It's to hold the line. And I think that was the hardest thing that we had to overcome with you, was that and your fear of falling off the top rope.
Yeah, now I'm flying off the top rope, man. Yeah, I don't like falling backwards. I still don't like that one. But no, that was pretty rough because I'm like, he's like, "Oh, it's not that high." I'm like, "Yeah, but when you're 6'3", over 300 pounds, and you stand up here, you're way higher than what you think you are." I don't want to fall on that.
I did it.
Yeah, I can do it. I'm definitely afraid of heights, so there you wouldn't catch me ever getting on the top rope. Now, Terry, you said that the biggest challenge for Joe was footwork, right? When you first met him, though, was this a guy that you got a feeling that he would take to the business? Was this a guy that you thought, I think he could do well, but he's going to possibly be difficult to work with because he is an athlete? And when you're an athlete playing another sport, a lot of times there are habits you have to break because, as you said, the footwork is different in professional wrestling. What was your first initial opinion of Joe when you met this guy?
First initial opinion when I met Joe, and I hadn't even met him, I'd seen him, was I went to every security officer that we had on site that night and said, that guy does not hit that ring. If he hits the ring, you're fired. Because he looked like a wrestler. And when we had opened up that other organization, we had made some waves and we'd made some enemies. Nobody likes the new guys on the block. So thought maybe Joe might be a mark coming in to shoot or something like that. And it wasn't going to happen on my watch at all. Then I find out who he is and it all works out, but he was trainable. You know, he had the desire to want to do this and wanted to do it the right way. He didn't come in with a preconceived notion that, oh, I know how to do this, and that, la-di-da-di-da. I've seen it on TV. This is easy. Joe never said once that this is easy. He knows several guys that have said this is easy, and they have all puked. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Just the way we train. And we train hard. Joe didn't puke. Every other guy that was in that class puked more than once.
Yeah, and I helped you train some of those guys with some of that stuff. Their workout before they were able to get in and bump, and they were puking for me. They were puking for me, and I was running the basic stuff that he was running, the same stuff, word for word, workout for workout, and they were puking. And I'm like, guys, why are you puking? But there was a lot of those guys that weren't athletes beforehand, so their breathing wasn't right. You know, they're treating their body right with nutrients and food and things like that. Man, if you come in and you're an alcoholic or you're a drinker,
right,
you're going to be puking. You're going to be puking. You're going to be sick, and odds are these guys won't come back. And I remember day one, man, I was hurting so bad. I was so tired. I went home because, like I said, I did the football in the morning, and then I went and did that in the evening. I went home and I stripped down and laid in my bed, and all I could do was yell for my son to bring me stuff to eat or drink because I could not move. And that's because being in football shape and wrestling shape is two different things, completely different things. So a lot of those guys say, "Oh, I could get in there and do that." Yeah, right. I'm going to say, yeah, right. Good luck with that, buddy.
Yep. I'm going to ask you guys kind of both the same question. One's going to be from your perspective, Terry, and then you, Joe. So you're playing football at the same time you're training, right? Now, as much as you love wrestling, I also know that you love playing football. Was there at any point, you know that your time is coming up, that you're going to end playing football, not because you have to, but because you want to pursue professional wrestling? At any point towards the end of your football career, did you have that thought in your brain that, oh man, I also love this sport. Like, do I really want to give up playing the sport, something that I do love, that I have been successful in?
No.
Nope.
Terry, I had the
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I had the mindset that I was done with it. And I'm one of those people in my mind, because I'm an Aquarius. If I'm done with something, I'm finished with it. And I even told the guys, I said, you probably won't see me around much after the end of the season. Well, why? I said, because when I'm done with something, I have to be completely done with it. And in order to move on in my head, I have to have a clear head and focus on what I'm doing. This is way more. I mean, football's dangerous, don't get me wrong, but wrestling is real dangerous. And at the time, I was 42. I was an older guy, and coming into something that you're literally inches, if not hairs, away from having a major injury or death in a wrestling ring, you know, I have to focus. And that was what I did. I walked away from everything to do with football. Since I left football, I've probably watched 5 games total in the last 4 years of any type of football, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. Right.
Terry, same kind of question. All this time you're spending with Joe, you know, he says he wants to get into wrestling. He's done with football. Did you ever have any concern that you're spending all this time with this guy, that he may actually change his mind and stay in football?
No, not really, because he was dedicated. And you can tell when you're training a guy if he's dedicated, if he's actually got the heart for it. And Joe absolutely had the heart. There wasn't, I mean, I asked him to do it and he'd do it. Sometimes I had to poke and prod a little bit to get him to do things that he didn't think he could do, but I knew what his potential was. He came in, there's not a lot of guys. And I mean, you've seen enough independent shows yourself now that there's not a lot of guys that look like Joe.
No.
That have that physique, that have that ability to carry themselves. He carries himself like he's a professional. When you find a guy like that, you take the extra time and spend the extra hours with them to put in to get out the result that you want at the end of the day. And that's what we did. And, not only were we doing that, training on Saturdays and Sundays, we were going down on Tuesday nights and training after I got done with my shoot. Joe would pick me up and we drive down to Harrison. There might be one or two guys that hung around and hung out and did stuff. There might not. It might just end up being me and Joe in the ring, just going over stuff to get it better. And, there was a couple other trainers that were there, Gary Graham, Jason Jones, that were there. Hey, do this, do that, do something like this. And there's a lot of times that, I'd go down there and Jason's like, okay, take those guys over there and start with that while I'm working with these guys over here. Gary would do the same things. And it worked out pretty well for a while. It's just circumstances change and got moved to the other side of town completely, which makes it really hard to go down on a Tuesday night and do anything anymore. So,
right. So you do this battle royal. That was technically your first time participating in a match, right, Joe?
Yeah. And what's funny is Terry likes to go off on his vacations a lot. And at the time he went on vacation. So I literally had probably, how many training sessions do you think I had at the time? Maybe 4
or 5,
maybe 4 or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous going into this battle royal. Terry could tell you. He would laugh.
Before that big battle royal, I was on vacation for a week. I came back the day before that battle royal.
Dude, I was so nervous. I mean, nervous. My brain was, what if they don't like me? Well, a lot of them like me because they already know me from football and as a local, kind of a local legend football hero, whatever, sport hero. And I'm like, what if they don't like me? What if this? What if that? So nervous, right? And this was before the whole real Silverback, anything like that happens at all. And so I had these sunglasses. I put these sunglasses on. I was like, okay, that helps a little bit so they can't see my eyes or whatever. I'm used to being in a football helmet and all this stuff on. So it's kind of like hiding me, and this is so individual. All eyes are on you at all times. And I'm like, well, what if I mess up? What if I mess up? What if I look stupid? And I'm back there just nervous. And Terry comes up to me. He goes, are you nervous? And I'm like, you think? And he's just laughing at me, trying to get me to jump up and down and shake my hands out and stuff all the time before I come out that curtain. I'll never forget it. And
made Joe be the last guy out.
Yeah. And when I came out, the roar of the crowd that I got was so good. It kind of relaxed me and kind of, okay. All right, well, that part's out the way. They're digging it. Yeah, very and so now I have to take this a bit further and perform, and I've still got that first battle royal on match. I still have that, and I can go back and look at that now and go, wow, I really wasn't that bad. Like my first time in there, I looked actually pretty decent.
You had a good trainer.
And yeah, and I was very impressed with how well. And then the guys that were in the ring, they were some guys that they had brought in from Harley Race, WLW. They brought them down in that battle royal, and they thought I had been doing it for like at least 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
And I was like, well, this was my first match, first time ever in here. And they were like, what? You got to be kidding me. And I was like, no, dead serious. And so I knew I was onto something.
Right. Now, I'm going to get into your Silverback gimmick here in a second. Terry, did you have anything in mind as far as the character that Joe could be once he started wrestling on a regular basis? Did you already have something in mind for him, or were you just basically leaving that up to Joe or the promoter?
Joe came up with his own characters and brought them to me, and I'm like, absolutely yes. That's going to work. When he did the hired gun, he came to me with that, and I'm like, absolutely yes, and showed him different ways of working both of those characters because he was investing in himself. So I helped invest in him to move that character in that direction. This is the stuff you want to do as this character. This is how you want to do it this way. This is how you want to do it as that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
He came up with it on his own.
And that's my question, Joe. Because look, the Silverback, man, your entrance. I go to quite a few indie shows, and your entrance, bar none. Including in Minnesota. I know you don't compete here, but I mean, you have the best indie. On the indies, the best interest I've yet to. I haven't seen anyone beat your interest yet because of your gimmick. When did you first think about doing the Silverback and coming up with everything?
So it is actually something from my life. And that's what makes it so great, because both of my characters are really me. Um, so the whole Silverback thing was not even a thought. Whenever I was coaching the Raiders youth football organization, I used to go and dress up as their mascot. I would put big chrome spikes on my shoulder pads and paint my face up, and I would come out there with a big Raiders flag, and I would coach the kids and be their mascot at the same time. So it gave them a sense of pride, like, yeah, let's do this, Um, and I kind of brought that to their attention. I said, hey, I was like, what do you think about something like this? And they're like, oh yeah, you definitely need to do that. I was like, I really don't want to step on similarity with the Road Warriors. But then as time went on, the formula is take and make. You take these ideas and make them yours. And that's what I did. I kept developing. And so, the first version of Silverback, I just had a half a mask across here until I left the original company and became the hired gun. When I became the hired gun, I was able to go back to the drawing board, and it gave me enough time to customize and develop it a little better. And so that's from my life. The first version of the Silverback, everybody was like, man, you look like Vader and the Road Warriors had a baby, but it was an apocalyptic look. And so I literally went with the same schematics of their tights gear, the 3-piece gear. And I went with that, and it worked because, I'm old school trained and I'm old school mentality. So I wanted to look like an old school wrestler. And that, to me, that's what a wrestler's supposed to look like. And like Terry always says, and everybody says, you have to look like a wrestler. And if you want to be a star, you have to look like a star, and you have to invest in your body, your gear, and your mentality, and especially your training. And that's what I did, and, with the Silverback. And then the new version with the retro respect, what everybody calls the Road Warrior gear. It's basically Road Warrior gear, but I kind of meshed it into the Silverback as a retro respect to them, because everybody kept saying, oh, you remind me of this, you remind me of that. And I was like, well, you know what? Screw it. I'll go ahead and do it. One, because you say remind me of Vader, so I was like, okay, Vader was red, Road Warriors were red, and so I also Bam Bam Bigelow, I've got the flame boots, so that's how I meshed in with the cartwheel discus clothesline. And so, like, I'm taking and making all these things and creating this one character, and I've had a couple of fans scream at me saying I'm stealing from them, and then I have fans come to my defense and say, no, he's used pieces of that and created his own thing. It's what you're supposed to do, And I even had Rudy Gonzalez from down in Texas.
Yep. Good guy.
Good guy. And we've talked a little bit in the past, and I sent him some videos that I've sent you from this past weekend. Right. And he goes, Joe, is that you in the Road Warrior gear? And I said, yeah. And then I showed him the red and then the original silver. And he goes, yeah. He said, that looks great. And I was like, thanks, man. I just kind of took and meshed and made it my own deal, Right. And he goes, it looks great. And I was like, thanks, And I get complaints.
From the get-go, when I first seen the Silverback gear, right? I never got that vibe of, oh, well, you're stealing from the Road Warriors or anyone else, because look, in professional wrestling, if that was the case, if people weren't able to take and build, right, you wouldn't have had the Road Warriors in makeup. You wouldn't have Sting in makeup. You wouldn't have the ones that came before them, the Mudas, right, all in makeup, but they made it their own, and that's exactly what you did. Sure, you wear the pads or your shoulder gear like the Road Warriors did, but it's so much different than what the Road
It's
Warriors
different.
had too.
Because I
Right.
mean, when you look at the character and watch me wrestle, I don't wrestle like them. I
No.
wrestle like me. I'm a power
Right.
guy. And the thing is they were tag team guys. They were
Right.
tag team genius powerhouses. I am not a tag team guy. I mean, I can do tag teams. I'm not great. I'm better singles.
Right.
Terry trained me to be a singles monster. You know, and so what better monsters to mesh together? Road Warriors, Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow. Those were monster dudes, man. If you mesh them together, that's the Silverback.
Right.
You know, yeah, that's just it in a nutshell. And it's just, you know, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm going to do moonsaults or anything yet, but who knows?
I would lose my shit if I see you do a moonsault. I'm just saying.
Might do it. I'm jumping off the top rope, baby. But no, you know, I'm just trying to play my cards right with what moves I do, you know, and what I do in there is, you know, it's like Terry always said, what you do in there, even if it's minimal things, make them very important, make them like memorable, what you do in there. And then the rest is just history.
Yep.
You know,
Grant says, you know, he is a huge fan of yours. Grant, I tell you what, man, think of a question. I'll like, you know, give me a question next, Joe, if you want. Terry, here's a question for you. And I'm going to ask Joe the same thing, but something I find fascinating is Joe comes out as a Silverback. Kind of a scary looking guy, but yet the younger fans just draw to him. And I find that amazing because of how intimidating he does look in his gear. Even without his gear, right? He looks intimidating. Well, he really looks intimidating when he's coming out with his gear on. What is it about Joe that you think draws these younger fans to him with as intimidating as he does look?
They look at him as a superhero.
Yeah.
I think they think he's a superhero, and you know, there's been several places that I've seen those little kids that, you know, they would be terrified to shake somebody, a regular baby face, you know, blonde hair, baby face, and then nothing to do with it. But Joe, he's like, even with his mask on, he looks like a superhero. He looks like a protector.
Right.
It's sort of, they got a vibe about it. They like it. I see tons of kids
it's an undeniable thing.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, did you ever think when you're creating this character, right, as you're coming out, that of all fans that would be drawn to you would be kids?
Yes.
Really?
Because I was a kid once, and I think on a kid's mentality, because you got to bring the kids in, because the kids will get excited about it. The parents want to bring the kids to something that they love, and they know they're spending their money in the right place. So if I'm on a show and they show, man, this guy's going to be there, you know, and the kids are like, oh, wow, he's kind of scary, but no, he's a good guy. And when they get there, they see I'm a good guy. They can approach me at my merch table, whatever. And that kind of captivates them too. And then they'll see my pictures. But what they don't realize is they'll see my pictures, but they don't really get it until I come out that curtain. And then everybody's like, whoa, this guy's the real deal, you know? And so I've gotten that a lot of times too. And it's very important that you invest in your gear. Like I've got almost $4,000 in my gear.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, I knew that kids would love it. And I knew whenever, I was in Cauliflower Alley the first time, and I brought the original Silverback, the silver in black 8x10 out there. I showed it to some of the legends, and Coco Beware was like, man, you need to stick with that. You know, a lot of them, you need to stick with that. Herb Simmons saw it when he didn't like it at first, but he said, I didn't like Vader's either, but he said, tells you what I know, you know, and it's just one of those things that people love it. It's one of those things that hopefully it becomes a legendary thing, you know, that people will always remember around, you know. I would love for that, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I may or may not have a third version of this guy coming for next year.
Nice. Do you know Grant Binkley 2656?
Yes,
So,
I do. I know him very well. We did his podcast at Evangel College a few weeks ago.
Because he wants to know what wrestling name suits him. He thinks the Pitbull.
Ooh, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see that.
Let me ask you this question. I want to go way back, right? All the way to the very beginning of your training, Joe.
Okay.
What was the most important question you think you ever asked Terry that has stuck with you and that has helped you through times where you felt like you were struggling by remembering that answer?
Well, the one time I remember is I forgot to post on his hip on a hip toss, and I went straight up in the air and straight down and would have landed on my head. And if I hadn't have tucked my chin, I would have been in some bad shape because I didn't post. I just flipped and I went straight up, straight down. Whoop. And
like that.
and
just like that.
Dude, I mean, I saw a flash of light, even though I tucked my chin.
I know.
And it's the did you tuck your chin? Yeah. He's like, all right. I just rolled over to the edge of the ring and I laid there for about 10 minutes. And Terry's wife's sitting over there in a chair, just laughing her butt off. And literally, dude, I just slowly just kind of disintegrated into my chair. I was like, I gotta go home. But yeah. And I remember his words. Did it hurt? He goes, I bet you won't do that again. So, yeah, I don't really think I struggled with a lot other than the footwork because he beat that in me day after day, everywhere I went. And I mean, whenever I first started playing around with the cartwheel, I was just playing around in the ring one day, training down at Jason. And Terry goes, what was that? And I go, what? He goes, that cartwheel, do that again. And I just did another cartwheel. And he goes, you need to work that into your gimmick in the ring. And I was like, how? Like, it's like just a cartwheel. And then the more I thought about it, we talked about it, and it was like, I guess I could turn it into a discus clothesline.
And now Charlotte does one.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yeah, and when I say struggling, I don't particularly mean, struggling as far as how you perform in professional wrestling, but being that I know that you're very hard on yourself. You're damn near a perfectionist, right? You're extremely hard on yourself. Yeah. Has there ever been any particular advice that you've gotten from Terry that has helped you during those moments that you're beating yourself up, which you shouldn't be, by the way, but you do?
Beating myself up, not as much as I kind of used to, because he would tell me stuff looked good whenever I didn't think it did. I more lean on him because this last show, I leaned on him because the guy I was wrestling had supposedly a torn rotator cuff on his left shoulder. So that makes me to where I can't work his left side. And, in the business, you have to feed to your right, and you're always working the left side. And so I called him and I said, how am I supposed to do this? I said, I'm supposed to go against everything I've ever been trained to keep this guy safe and work his right side. And Terry was just like, kick his ass. He shouldn't even be in there. And I'm like, I agree, he shouldn't even be in there. So, and we talked about that a little bit and how to make the match work without hurting him. And we did use some of that, what he asked there towards the end. I told him to have a couple of guys come in there and jump me at the end.
Yeah.
And that all worked out, that was great advice. Cause I go to him anytime I feel like I can't figure something out. I go to him, hey, what do you think about this? Or he'll tell me, that's stupid, and a lot of times the stuff that are put in my way is really dumb. And Terry will work things over in his head about 3 or 4 different ways and tell me 3 or 4 different endings that I can go with that would make sense. Because like I said, he said, that make it make sense. And so that's what we try to do. That way the promoters are happy, my opponent's happy, and we can have a great match for the fans.
Yep. Larry says, great answer, Terry. Terry, before we go, do you have any good Terry and Joe stories or a Joe story?
Chest chops. Joe?
Well, yeah, that's one.
The chest chops where he got grazed because he's got sensitive nipples.
Oh, yeah.
And they were hurting so bad. He was almost crying and he was bent over. So I slapped him flat-handed on his back. Now your nipples don't hurt anymore, do they?
Well, that was when the one guy did that AJ Styles roll-up thing, remember?
Oh, yeah,
and
they drug across the mat.
They drug across the mat, and I got mat burned on him.
Oh.
And I was like this, and he goes, let me see. And he goes, whack. And I'm like, when I bent over, then he goes, ow. And then I'm like, he goes, your mind's off of it now, ain't it? And I'm like,
Speaking of chest slaps, you're going to be on a show that's called, what is it? It's called Chest Chops. Talk about that.
Well, they were at the last mid-stage show that I was at in Springfield, and Jason had told them about me and said I was perfect for what they want to do because, I mean, I'm kind of impervious to a lot of pain. I mean, that stuff doesn't bother me. I laugh at that chest chopping stuff anymore. And I deliver it too. And so they hit me up and want to see if I'd be on the show. And I'm like, yeah, but they've had to cancel their dates a couple of times because they just landed a TV deal. So they're revamping everything to come back this next year and actually do it bigger. So I'm just waiting for that opportunity, and I'm going to go take a slap at it and see what happens. It's like I told the guys, I said, these aren't going to be working chops. I said, I'm going to be trying to rip your spine out from your chest, because when I'm at the gym, I'm cable crossing over, 60, 70 pounds. So if I'm going to hit you with a chest chop, I'm hitting you with a 60, 70 pound sledgehammer, and I'm trying to grab your spine. Right. So we'll see what happens. Right. But I know that how it works is it's kind of like slap fight. Both opponents get 5 chops on each other, back and forth. And then if someone bows out because they can't take it anymore, then the other person wins. But if it goes to all 5 of each, it goes to the judges, and they judge the damage that each person's inflicted. Right. So,
right. Terry, you're obviously a damn good trainer. Joe may have been a natural athletic person, but at the same time, some of his success is obviously because of you, because of what you did and what you taught him in the ring. Mm-hmm. After saying all of that, what would you tell someone who is young and in the business? What advice would you give them right now?
The same advice that I give everybody. Go in the locker room, keep your mouth shut, your ears open, sit by the veteran and listen. Don't interrupt, just listen. And then ask if he has a minute, can he watch your match? And take the critique.
Yeah.
Right.
I tell everybody the same thing.
Now,
that's if you want to succeed. If you don't want to succeed, go in the locker room and play on your phone and be obnoxious and be a jerk and see how far it gets you. Joe's done everything I've told him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, you said you don't know if you should get into the ring anymore. When you do decide to officially hang up the boots, Are you going to have that one last match?
Don't know. Haven't looked that far into the future. I'm 59 years old. I really don't need to be in the ring. I really
Right.
don't. Can I still go? Yeah.
Right.
Can I take 80% of the young guys that are out there? Absolutely. Because I've forgotten more about wrestling than they'll ever know.
Right.
And legitimately take them. We were trained completely different than the way they were.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Last question for you, Terry, is what is it that you think, if you think this at all, that's missing in professional wrestling right now that you see, from a lot of the younger talent?
Dedication and belief in themselves. I can't stand to see, even on the big shows, I can't stand to see guys come out there in tennis shoes. This wrestling, if you go back years and years and years, they're in boots, they're in trunks, they're in wrestling gear. And I mean, it's evolved. And if your character is you're a biker, well, then I get it. I got it. But tennis shoes, come on. I'm watching the girls in low top tennis shoes wrestling. I mean, invest in yourself. Be a professional. Look like you're a professional wrestler. Stop looking like you're a backyard wrestler. You're not. If you're getting paid for this, you're a professional wrestler. Act like it.
What would be advice you would give Joe right now?
I give him any advice that he needs. I mean, Joe and I talk at least once a week, if not twice.
Yeah.
He
Or I come
asks me
visit.
stuff and I give him advice freely. I don't have anything in particular. And he knows the way I feel about him. His career, he's aging out. Go grab everything you can while you can get it. I mean, he's to that point. I mean, sure, he's still going to look good for a few more years, but his body's going to start breaking down. And he knows the older you get, it hurts. It takes longer to heal. He knows he's been through it.
And I'm glad you said that, because this was my last question for Joe. How much more do you have in you?
Let's see. Probably about another 8 to 10 years. I'd say 8 to 10. And I figure if I'm getting to that point where I no longer look or could be the Silverback, I'll redevelop. I'll probably just go back to the hired gun and just lean on that to the end of my career. Because I mean, it's easy. I mean, or I'll create something different.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about, once that day comes that you don't feel like you can perform in the ring anymore, of doing, working, behind the curtains, if you will, or even being, playing that manager role?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'll always have my hand in there somewhere, whether it be a managerial role or training somewhere. Of course, I wouldn't do it all by myself. I would have other people trained too that actually can probably do a better job than me. I mean, I'm great with the basic stuff and psychology on some things, but I may even, venture off and start a promotion with somebody else. I mean, I feel like I'm always going to be doing something with professional wrestling. I mean, but I know it'll suck when that day comes, but I'll just be like, hey, at least I got to live 2 dreams.
Right. Is there something that you that there's this need that you have to accomplish, that you have to do within the business before that day comes that you hang up your boots?
I want to get into one of the bigger companies, because that will say I did it. I mean, even if I was to land a very short stint in WWE or AEW, to me, I did it. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not successful now, because I feel like I am. I mean, I just bought the old lady a new vehicle with money that I made from my merch in wrestling.
Right.
Paid for. So I'm saying I'm being successful, because why? People are paying to come see me. People want to see me. I'm making decent money on the independent circuit. So, I mean, why? Because I've invested in myself. I've did all these things that I was told to do by Terry, because that Terry said, you do these things, you're going to be okay. And I followed the script. I mean,
Terry, when you hear Joe say he wants to make it to one of the bigger promotions out there, I was talking about WWE or AEW, right? Because that will tell him that he made it. Yeah, he also said that he knows he's been successful, but how does that make you feel to hear him say, well, basically that's the way I will only, feel like I've achieved success is to make it to one of these two promotions? Because I look at Joe now myself and man, you've made it. You've achieved.
He absolutely has.
Right.
He wrestled in front of legends at Cauliflower Alley Club.
Right.
How many guys can say that? I mean,
that's
legends.
Going back this year.
I mean, it's great to be on that grand stage, but I mean, I've been there. It's great, but he's doing all this other stuff and he's seeing all these territories, and he's one of the guys, one of the few guys that's actually out there busting his rump to do it.
Right.
I mean, I got to wrestle in front of Tom Pritchard, so I'm like, I was feeling great about that,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I felt like I had a decent match.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, man. Man, you and I had some late night conversations about this stuff. But I can tell you that as much as I wish you all the luck in the world, I would love to see you WWE, AEW, for you to land with one of those two at the same time. I can tell you that if that never happens, it's okay because, brother, you've made it. You're successful.
I got one more question for Joe.
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Same question I ask every one of my students the day they walk in to learn to train or learn to wrestle. Is wrestling fake or is wrestling real?
It's very, very real. It's very real. I mean, I don't know how many times that I have had to get myself healed up for the next training session or the next show and push through. I mean, just like with the car accident, man, I had to go and wrestle. And I looked at it like, well, what would Harley have done? He would have got up and went and wrestled. He would have said, you ain't dead, kid, get in there. So that's how I looked at it. That was the first thing that hit my mind as I'm rolling over in the Jeep going, damn, how am I going to get to my show next weekend? I'll never forget it. I hit the flasher. It was a flasher light, and I'm going upside down, and I can't hardly breathe. And I'm going, damn, how am I going to get to the show next weekend?
Terry, is there any chance of you being in Vegas August?
Don't know. That it's possible, but don't know. That's my wife's birthday month, and she's usually dedicated. We've got something dedicated out, so it's hard to say. I lived in Vegas for a long time, so me going back is sort of one of those deals.
Well, look, Vegas. I've lived in Vegas as well. Vegas is not my favorite place in the world. It's just not. I don't gamble, but I love the Cauliflower Alley Club because of being able to see people actually be there face to face, right? That you only see once a year. Now, have you guys heard, and I know this is a question for her, but he's supposed to be coming on the show soon, but have you guys heard any rumblings of there being a fan fest? I think it'd be number 4, isn't it?
Yep, 3.
I think he's on the fence. I
He's
think I heard.
He's still riding it. I've asked everybody associated with him because they came to show before last of our mid-state show, and I was poking and prodding because I want to know. I mean, I want to know. I want to get everything lined up to do what I got to do, and he's riding that fence. He hasn't made a decision one way or another because it's a big undertaking. It's a huge
undertaking. I imagine it is, but I do hope that happens because I know that there's a chance you may not be in Vegas, Terry. So I'd love to be able to come see you and your beautiful wife at there. Look, you guys want to have a white Christmas. You guys want to have a white Christmas, man. You guys come over for Christmas. We got room for you.
Yeah, I heard Vegas, the Cauliflower dates changed again. So yeah, so I had to cancel. I had to cancel a show because, like I said, people are booking me up for 2026, and I've said something to people back in October. I'm like, hey guys, if you're not giving me dates, you need to, because people are hitting me up. They're wanting me to come in 2026, man. And I'm having, I'm booked all the way up to February now, but I've got dates into April all the way into August.
Right.
Actually, I think into September as well. So I'm like, I keep trying to reiterate, man, book me if you can. You snooze, you lose.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm glad the dates were moved for the CAC reunion towards the end of August, because SummerSlam is going to be here this year, and I'm going to both nights. I'll be there, and the reunion was like within, I think, a week and a half.
He froze up.
Now it's more. Am I frozen?
Yeah, no. You froze for a second.
No,
you said SummerSlam.
Yeah, so I'll be at SummerSlam, and so with the CAC now being the reunion being towards the end of August, it works out best for me. So I was happy to see that. I'm probably mad it's cold out here and it's wreaking havoc on the internet. Yeah. Before I go, Terry, how's the missus?
Fine, great. She's a beast.
That's good to hear. Joe, it's Christmas time coming, and we know we have Christmas bells, but is there any type of other bells we may be hearing pretty soon there, man?
Well, not yet, but I feel like in the future. Yeah, I definitely feel that in the future. Yeah, I mean, like, I got set back with this car accident, and I had to dish out a bunch of money for another car for her. So I got to get back on the road and make some more merch money so I can make some other important things happen. So yeah, I feel that's down the road. That's coming.
Is there anything that either one of you want to promote before we end this? Terry?
Terry, do you have something?
No, we've got a couple of mid-states wrestling shows going on. There's a New Breed wrestling show going on. It's going to be a big one. I forget the date of that one out there.
It's this Saturday, December 13th in Eldon, Missouri. It's our annual Toys for Tots drive. Believe it or not, I'm doing my first intergender match, and I don't know how I feel about that, but is what it is. So, this past Monday night, my daughter was going to buy me tickets for Monday Night Raw, and I turned them down because I had to go out to Ava, Missouri to set up a special show, help set up a special show, fundraise, cut promos at the school with the kids, and get sponsorships for a show for a little girl that got swept down the pipeline down there, and she's still recovering from back in the summer. So we're setting all that up. So I told my daughter, I said, that's more important than me going to Monday Night Raw, for Christmas, that I got to set this up for this girl. So the Toys for Tots drive this Saturday in Eldon, Missouri is free to get in with a $10 or more toy.
New toy. New one.
Yes. New. Yes. New. So bring that in so we can donate all these toys to all the kids up there.
Awesome. Matter of fact, Joe, as soon as we get off, text me or DM me, doesn't matter. Send me that information, and what I'll do is whenever I release the podcast, the YouTube version of it on my Facebook page, I'll put that information above there.
Well. I'll send you the picture of the flyers that they sent out.
Okay.
And you can do it that way.
Cool.
So,
man, I love both of you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for both of you guys doing this. I hope to see you both very soon.
Yes.
If not at FanFest, I'm going to try.
I need a booking up there.
Visit. Go to Silver Dollar City.
I need a booking up there, man. I'll wade the snow to come wrestle up there. I need a booking up there.
Yeah, I was going to try to put something together, but the issues with my back and the possibility of surgery, I'm going to physical therapy.
Yeah.
I had to put that on hold, but hopefully I can try to get something going, because I would love to have you come here to wrestle and bring Terry as well. But yeah, I mean, hopefully FanFest will happen again so we can hang out. If not, I know for sure I'll see you in Vegas. Terry, I would love to be able to see you and your wife in Vegas as well. I get it. Your wife's birthday, the missus comes first.
Absolutely.
The married man, I know where that goes to. If I want to have a good month, my wife better have a good month. So, but again, thank you guys so much. Like I said, I love you guys both, man. Guys, please subscribe to the podcast. We will be on tomorrow night at 7:30 to do a recap of AEW Dynamite. Did we love it? Did we hate it? Did we just think it's okay? You'll find out. Until then, you guys have a great night.